Welcome back to the Deep Dive, the show that, well, cuts through the noise and gets straight to the insights you need. Now, if you've ever embarked on the journey of learning English, you probably hit that point, you know the one. Your vocabulary is growing, grammar's starting to click, and then bam, phrasal verbs. Suddenly, it feels like you've stumbled into this maze of hundreds, maybe thousands of these tricky little word combos. They seem to pop up everywhere. Casual chats, work emails, movies, everywhere. And mastering them is just so crucial for sounding natural, clear, and, really confident. They're kind of like the secret handshake of native speakers, aren't they? Without them, you can feel like you're missing out, just slightly on the outside.
That's a really good way to put it. A secret handshake is a universal frustration for learners. Because phrasal verbs, they often just defy that simple word-for-word translation, don't they? Their meanings can shift so dramatically with just one tiny particle. It makes them incredibly opaque if you approach them too literally. Yet, like you said, they're absolutely ubiquitous. They're everywhere. They're not just idiomatic quirks. They are fundamental building blocks of everyday communication. They really are. So mastering them isn't really about memorizing endless disconnected lists. That's not the way. It's about understanding their function, their subtle connotations, and the specific contexts where they thrive. It's about unlocking a more native-like fluency, moving beyond just basic understanding to, truly articulating nuanced ideas.
And that's exactly our mission for you today. That's what we want to help you with. We're about to embark on a deep dive into this fascinating, sometimes bewildering, but ultimately really empowering world of English phrasal verbs. We're specifically zeroing in on 50 of the most common ones, the ones you absolutely need to know, the essentials. Think of this deep dive as your ultimate shortcut. That's the goal. Our aim is for you to not only recognize and understand these verbs effortlessly, but also to confidently start using them. In your own speech, your writing, we want to demystify these word combinations, help you cut through that feeling of information overload you might have, and instead gain truly practical, memorable, and immediately usable insights. You should finish this feeling like you've just been handed this powerful new set of tools for your English toolkit.
Yeah, and this deep dive, it's built on a pretty comprehensive lesson, one designed to bring together the very best insights, the best strategies for tackling phrasal verbs. It's crafted to equip you with a really solid foundation, showing you in practical terms how these aren't just, obscure academic points to tick off some list. They're essential tools that will profoundly enhance your ability to communicate clearly, confidently, and naturally across all sorts of situations, right? From like casual chats with friends all the way to those really crucial professional presentations.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, let's really roll up our sleeves. Let's explore some specific phrasal verbs. Let's focus on those subtle shades of meaning, the nuances that can really elevate your communication. So we're going to start our exploration by looking at individual phrasal verbs. Digging deep, we'll get into their multiple meanings, the very specific context where you'd use them, and those subtle differences, the ones that can totally change the impact and tone of your communication. It's fascinating stuff. Let's begin by focusing on how we introduce and convey ideas. Tag hair A. Introducing and conveying ideas. First up, we have bring up. Okay, imagine the scenario. You've got something significant on your mind. Maybe it's a serious issue at work, right? Or a sensitive personal topic you need to discuss with someone close. Or even a brilliant new idea you want introduced to your team. You can't just casually toss it into the conversation. Actually, we'll talk about that later with blur it out. That's different. No, you need a way to signal that this topic is important, that it warrants attention. And that's precisely where bring up comes in. It shines here. It means to start discussing something. And it usually carries this implication that the topic is, well, weighty, important, maybe even a bit sensitive. You might say, there's something I'd like to bring up at the start of our team meeting today. See, it signals an agenda item. Or, I really need to bring this up with my manager before it gets any bigger. You're not just mentioning something, you're formally introducing it for discussion. There's intent there.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting about bring up is that inherent formality, that directness you mentioned. When you choose to use bring up, you're signaling a very deliberate and intentional shift in the conversation's focus. You're shifting it to something that genuinely requires consideration, thoughtful engagement. Think of it like choosing a specific tool, right, from your communication toolkit. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer for a tiny nail, would you? And similarly, bring up isn't for every casual remark. It's just not. It's a precision tool. For signaling a deliberate, often more serious discussion, it's particularly valuable in professional settings, I find, where you might need to introduce a new item to the agenda, or maybe raise a concern, or even address a conflict without it just being dismissed as some casual tangent. It instantly elevates the tone of the discussion, makes your communication feel more intentional, more impactful. and it ensures that your point gets the appropriate consideration it deserves. It basically says, pay attention, this matters.
That clears it up beautifully. So for you listening right now, think about how strategically using this phrase, bring up, can really lift the tone of your discussions. It makes your communication feel much more deliberate, more impactful, especially in those professional settings. It shows you're not just, rambling or making some offhand comment. You are purposefully introducing a point, something that requires engagement, really empowers you to steer the conversation towards what's actually important. Okay, moving on. We have get across. Now, this phrasal verb, it's all about the successful transmission of information. That's the key. It's not merely about speaking or presenting words, no. It's about making sure your message is truly understood by the other person, that it lands. It's often paired with the verb try, isn't it? Like, I'm trying to get my message across, which implies there's an effort involved to ensure comprehension. But what makes this verb particularly interesting is that active effort it implies.
You're totally right. The active effort is key. And here's a really practical tip. Something that will help you sound natural and precise. Get across pairs beautifully and really frequently with specific nouns. Think about these combinations, using it with facts, feelings, ideas, a message, meaning a point or a point of view. These are the common partners of get across. Learning them as collocations, words that naturally go together, will seriously boost your accuracy and fluency. For example, you might ask, am I getting the message across clearly? Is this explanation actually landing? Or maybe in a moment of frustration, you might say, I'm trying so hard to get my point across, but Paul just keeps butting in and disrupting the flow. See, the core emphasis here is on that successful transmission, information or emotion, actively ensuring your intended meaning isn't lost in translation or, misinterpreted. It implies a two-way street almost, where you're not just speaking into the void, but you're also kind of seeking confirmation of understanding. Native speakers, they instinctively know how to maybe simplify or rephrase until they get it across.
For learners, the insight isn't just knowing the phrase itself, but recognizing that active effort involved, that need to ensure comprehension, especially when you're dealing with complex ideas, maybe cultural differences, or even just a noisy room.
That's a fantastic insight, the active effort part. So for you, our listener, make a conscious effort. Try pairing get across with those appropriate nouns we just listed. It's a practical step you can take today, right now, to immediately improve the clarity and impact of your own English conversations. Remember, it's about being understood, not just being heard. Big difference. #B, the art of interruption and its etiquette. Speaking of butting in, that brings us perfectly to our next category, the delicate and sometimes not so delicate art of interruption. Sometimes you just have to contribute something to a conversation, don't you? You feel that urge. You have an urgent thought, a brilliant idea pops into your head, or maybe a crucial piece of information. Let's start by looking at a more polite way. Jump in.
Jump in is wonderful for this. It's informal, generally more polite way to describe interrupting. And the nuance here is really crucial. It often implies a desire to contribute quickly, maybe enthusiastically. And it's frequently used to actually ask permission to interject, which makes it polite. Instead of just cutting someone off mid-sentence, you might say something like, do you mind if I jump in here for a moment? I've got something relevant to share about that point. Or, I just wanted to jump in quickly and add that we encountered a similar issue last month. It's a casual, less confrontational synonym for interrupt. It conveys a willingness to contribute without necessarily being rude. You're not literally, jumping.
No, of course not.
But it conveys that informal desire to contribute quickly, add to the flow, rather than just derail it.
That's a really helpful distinction. So when you want to politely add something to the conversation, maybe because you have a fresh perspective or a piece of info just popped into your head, jump in is your friend, your go-to phrase. It's about making your voice heard, enriching the discussion without steamrolling anyone else. Now let's contrast that sharply with butt in. Very different vibe.
Butt in, yes. This also means to interrupt, but it carries a very different and significantly more negative connotation.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's highly informal, and it almost always implies rudeness, a lack of consideration for others, or just a disregard for the ongoing discussion. It suggests the person interrupting is acting selfishly or without proper respect for, conversational turn-taking. It's just jarring. Imagine this scenario. I was speaking quietly with Sue, trying to comfort her after she lost her job, a sensitive moment. And then Jim just butts in and starts talking really loudly about his new promotion and how great his life is.
Oh, that's awful.
Right. Here, butts in clearly conveys an impolite, uninvited, and socially inappropriate intrusion into a sensitive conversation or maybe even an activity. There's almost no scenario, even among really close friends, where butting in doesn't carry that rude implication. It just does. It implies a lack of care for the other person's space, their emotional state, the conversation itself.
That's such a perfect example. It shows how the same basic action interrupting can be described with such vastly different social implications, such different emotional weight. Understanding butt in isn't just about knowing its dictionary definition. It helps you recognize when you're being interrupted rudely, which can be really disorienting, actually. And crucially, it helps you ensure you don't inadvertently use it to describe others in a negative way, or even worse, do it yourself. You don't want to be the one butting in. It's a powerful word to understand in the whole realm of social etiquette. And then there's blurt out. This one hits home for me. I think we've all done this. It's when you say something without really thinking, without considering its potential effect or consequences, usually because you're just overcome by nervousness or excitement or maybe surprise. It's like an involuntary verbal release.
Exactly. It's those moments when words just sort of slip out before your brain has a chance to engage the filter. The classic anecdote, as we touched on earlier, is when a friend tells you something incredibly personal, like, say, news of her pregnancy, and she asks you, pleads with you, to keep it secret. Then, maybe later that day, you bump into another mutual friend. You're excitedly catching up, chatting away, and suddenly, without thinking, you just blurt out, oh, guess what? Melanie's pregnant.
Oh, no.
Right. You didn't mean to reveal the secret, it just blurted out. From sheer excitement, maybe. Or just a lack of self-control in that moment. You'd then have to backtrack profusely. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I just blurted it out. I really didn't think before I spoke.
This verb truly captures that lack of conscious control, that emotional impulse, where an unintentional action has immediate and sometimes quite embarrassing or even damaging consequences. It often comes from a place of genuine emotion, like excitement, not usually malice, but the impact can still be significant. Oh, we've all been there, haven't we? Those moments of intense excitement or maybe anxiety or surprise, where our words just escape us before our brains catch up and engage that internal filter. Blurt out is incredibly relatable for describing those experiences, both for yourself when you've done it and when observing others who just can't seem to keep a secret or control their immediate reactions. It's a really vivid way to capture that unintentional verbal mishap, that foot in mouth moment. Hashtag C. Discussing, convincing, and shutting down. Okay, let's move on to phrasal verbs related to discussing things, convincing people, and even, well, shutting things down. First up, get through. This one has a couple of very practical meanings that are pretty essential for everyday communication.
Indeed it does. Get through primarily means to make someone understand what you're trying to say, especially when there are difficulties or barriers to communication. It speaks directly to that challenge of effective information transfer, making sure the message gets received and understood. For instance, it's proving really difficult to get the message through to my team because, well, we all work remotely across different time zones and miscommunications are just frequent. Or maybe in a more personal context, I'm trying desperately to get the message through to Paul about the importance of active listening, but he just seems to tune me out completely. It's about overcoming those obstacles to comprehension, making sure the intended meaning isn't lost in the noise, so to speak. But it also has a simpler, much more literal meaning, particularly when it comes to phone calls. That's very common. In this context, get through means to successfully connect with someone by phone, or for a call to actually be completed. You might hear someone say, ugh, I'm trying to get through to customer service, but the line is constantly busy, there's just no answer. Or, yes, I finally got through to Sarah after trying for an hour. Both meanings, really, when you think about it, revolve around successfully establishing a connection, whether that's understanding an idea or just a physical line of communication like a phone line.
So whether you're struggling to make yourself crystal clear in a remote meeting or maybe navigating a tricky explanation with someone, or even just trying to reach someone on the phone, get through is a really versatile verb. It perfectly describes those practical challenges of connection and comprehension. It's really about persistence in communication, isn't it? Okay, next we have talk over. This phrasal verb, again, comes with a couple of distinct meanings, and these are absolutely crucial to differentiate because mistaking them could lead to very different outcomes.
Right, the first core meaning of talk over is to discuss an issue thoroughly, usually to find a solution or resolve it. Often when you're feeling stuck or you need collective input, it implies a detailed, usually collaborative discussion, aimed at reaching clarity or maybe a resolution. Crucially, in this context, it always requires an object. You have to talk over something, like an issue, a problem, a plan, or just it, or this. For example, I know you're really upset about what happened today. Let's talk it over tonight when you get home and we can figure out a way forward together. See, That usage suggests a desire for reconciliation or problem solving. The second meaning, however, is quite different, and often, well, less polite. It means to speak over the top of someone else, essentially interrupting them and drowning out their voice, dominating the conversation. You might hear someone interject, maybe a bit defensively. Look, I don't mean to talk over you, but we've actually already decided what to do, so there's really no need to revisit that point now. When used this way, it's always followed by the person being interrupted. Talk over you, talk over him.
Understanding this distinction is absolutely key. It helps you both engage in productive problem-solving discussions effectively, and just as importantly, recognize and hopefully avoid those impolite interruptions that can really shut other people down. The nuance is significant. The polite usage is about discussion, collaboration. The impolite one is more about dominance, isn't it?
That's a great point about the object completely changing the meaning. That little detail makes all the difference. It's so useful to know the difference, especially if you're trying to, say, run a smooth meeting, or facilitate a respectful discussion, or simply ensure everyone feels heard and valued. The potential for miscommunication, if you confuse those two meanings, is pretty high. Okay, how about talk around? This one definitely sounds like it involves a bit of persuasion, maybe some diplomatic maneuvering.
Yes, talk around means exactly that. To convince or persuade someone to agree with you, especially if they initially disagreed or were maybe reluctant. It implies there was some initial resistance, right? An opposing viewpoint, or maybe just a strong reluctance. And you expended a certain amount of effort, discussion, perhaps some charm, logic to change their mind. An excellent example would be, I really didn't want to go to that conference, it sounded boring, but he succeeded in talking me around by highlighting all the amazing networking opportunities I would miss out on. Well, the round particle here subtly implies guiding someone to your way of thinking, essentially bringing them around to your perspective after overcoming their initial objections. It's really about overcoming resistance through verbal persuasion. Gentle pressure, maybe?
So understanding talk around gives you valuable insight into the art of persuasion in English, both when you're maybe strategically trying to influence someone, and equally importantly, when someone might be trying to talk you around to their point of view. It helps you recognize that. It's a useful verb for navigating negotiations, disagreements, those kinds of interpersonal dynamics. Now, let's talk about shut down. This one has a common literal meaning that most people know, but also a much more informal and often intensely negative one that's crucial to understand in social and professional contexts.
Yes, absolutely. Most people easily grasp shut down in the context of permanently closing something like a business gets shut down or a website, maybe a factory. That's clear. But informally, and particularly in conversations or when discussing ideas, it means to reject someone or to stop them mid-sentence, often quite abruptly and rudely, especially if their hopes or maybe their expectations or enthusiasm were high. It's a very negative experience to be shut down, very deflating. For example, it was kind of awkward at the meeting yesterday. She just shut him down mid-sentence when he tried to present his alternative idea, didn't even let him finish.
Ouch.
Yeah. Or, my boss really didn't like the new marketing suggestion I proposed. He shut me down straight away with just a dismissive wave without even letting me explain the reasoning behind it. It implies abruptness, a clear, often harsh rejection, and a lack of support, or even basic courtesy sometimes. It's kind of the verbal equivalent of slamming a door in someone's face, isn't it?
Ouch. Yeah, no one wants to be shut down like that. It's an abrupt and often really disheartening stop. To ideas, enthusiasm, conversations, it can feel incredibly dismissive and disrespectful. And this verb provides a fantastic contrast to a much more positive and supportive action. Back up.
Exactly. Back up means to give support by agreeing with something someone said or did. It's the direct opposite of being shut down. It's about reinforcement. If your colleague backed you up during a tense meeting, it means they affirmed your suggestion, maybe reinforced your argument, or supported your action. They prevented you from being isolated or undermined, which is huge. For instance, thanks so much for backing me up during that client negotiation. I really felt supported when you clarified my points. This is crucial in collaborative environments, isn't it? In teamwork, even in friendly debates, it's about building alliances, reinforcing valid contributions, and demonstrating solidarity, showing you're on the same team.
It really is all about navigating those complex social and professional interactions, isn't it? The subtle cues. Knowing these phrasal verbs helps you understand the subtle nuances of support, or sadly, the lack thereof. It gives you the vocabulary to actually describe these crucial interpersonal dynamics. ##dirty. The many meanings of look. Okay, let's turn our attention now to the verb look and its many, many partners. This verb is incredibly versatile. Its meaning changes dramatically and fascinatingly with each little particle it combines with. First up, look back on.
Look back on. This one is entirely about reflection. Retrospection. It means to think or talk about a past event, a specific period of time, or maybe a significant experience. From the perspective of now, it often implies a process of introspection, maybe learning from what is past, or perhaps just reminiscing with fondness, or maybe regret. For example, I try to look back on the mistakes I made in my early career and learn valuable lessons from them, rather than just dwelling on the regret. That's a constructive use. Or, we often look back on our childhood summers with such a mix of nostalgia and amusement. It connects directly to personal growth, drawing insights from history and shaping your present understanding. It's kind of a way of mentally revisiting the past, but from the vantage point of the present.
That's a truly powerful phrase. It encourages reflective thinking about your own experiences, the lessons you've learned along your journey. Next, a very practical one. Look after.
Yes, this is straightforward and incredibly common. Fundamental for daily life, really. Look after simply means to take care of someone or something, to assume responsibility for their well-being or their maintenance. It's very practical and applies to a wide range of situations.
Yeah.
Family responsibilities, pet care, even looking after objects sometimes. Oh, I offered to look after my sister's kids on Thursday night while she's at her evening class. Or, who's going to look after your dog while you're away on your vacation next month? Have you found a sitter yet? It's a very direct and clear expression of care and responsibility. Simple, but essential.
So simple, yet so widely used in common, relatable situations every day. Now for a less pleasant one that unfortunately highlights social biases. Look down on.
Yes, look down on. This carries a strong and decidedly negative social implication. There's no positive spin here. It means to have a low opinion of someone, to treat them as inferior, or to think you were somehow better than them, often based on things like class, education level, wealth, background, those sorts of divisions. This verb often highlights prejudice, feelings of elitism, or just a judgmental attitude. Snobbery, basically. A really common and unfortunately relatable example is it's really common for people who highly value university education to sometimes look down on those who choose not to pursue a degree, often without understanding their circumstances or acknowledging other forms of intelligence. It instantly prompts an awareness of social dynamics and the critical importance of avoiding judgmental attitudes or perceived superiority in your own interactions. It's a phrase that really signals disdain, doesn't it?
Definitely a phrase to be keenly aware of, both for recognizing it in others' attitudes and, crucially, making sure you don't inadvertently convey such sentiments yourself. That's important. Next, a truly universal experience for all of us. Look for.
Look for. This means to try to find something that is lost or misplaced, or simply not immediately visible. The act of searching. It's an incredibly practical, everyday verb. Describes that common action. Crucially, it always requires a noun to follow it. You have to specify what you're searching for. For example, art. I'm desperately looking for my keys. I can't find them anywhere, and I'm going to be late. We've all been there.
Definitely.
Or, are you actively looking for a new job right now, or are you quite happy where you are? It's a highly relatable scenario we all encounter frequently, probably daily, making it a cornerstone of everyday communication.
That's a verb we probably all use multiple times a day without even thinking about it. Okay, on a much happier note, look forward to.
Ah, yes, look forward to.
This is a wonderful phrasal verb for expressing anticipation, positive expectation. It means to be eagerly waiting for something to happen and feeling genuinely excited or pleased about it. It conveys a sense of pleasant expectation, hopefulness. For example, I'm really looking forward to summer this year. I've got so many outdoor plans lined up. Or, often used as a polite closing in professional correspondence, I look forward to hearing from you soon. It's a universally understood way to share excitement for future events or plans, reflecting a positive outlook on what's coming.
I certainly am looking forward to summer here in Australia after a rather long winter. It's great for sharing excitement about future events, plans, and yeah, it often serves as a polite closing in professional emails too. Very versatile. Next, look around. Or look around. Both work right.
Yes, both are common. This means to visit a place and explore it. To see what's there, get a general impression. Wander about, it's used for physical exploration, maybe inspection, or just gathering information about a specific location, often without a highly focused objective beyond general familiarity. Just checking it out. Before I commit to booking the wedding venue, I'd really like to come and look around if that's okay, just to make sure that it's suitable for our guest list and the overall aesthetic. Or, we spent the whole afternoon just looking around the old town, soaking in the atmosphere, browsing the shops. It's about physically surveying a space or an area, getting the lay of the land.
Perfect for planning visits, travel, exploring new neighborhoods, or even property viewings. Useful. Now, look out. This one has two very different meanings, and the smallest addition of just one word completely changes its impact.
Yes, this is a great example of particle power. The first meaning is an exclamation, look out, just like that. This is an urgent warning, often shouted or exclaimed, to tell someone to be careful because immediate danger is imminent or an accident is about to happen, requires immediate reaction. For example, look out, you're about to knock that priceless vase right off the bench.
Oops.
Exactly. It demands immediate attention and action to avoid a mishap. The second meaning, however, comes when you add the preposition for. So look out for someone. Completely different. This means to take care of someone, to protect them, or to make sure they're okay and safe. It's about care and vigilance. My nephews are always looking out for each other at school, making sure the younger one isn't left out or bullied. It is so sweet to see that bond between them. The presence of that tiny word for completely shifts the meaning. From an immediate urgent warning to a caring, protective, often ongoing action. This is a brilliant example of how even these small words, these particles, can dramatically alter a phrasal verb's core meaning and its feeling.
The subtle addition of that one little word changes everything. Knowing that distinction is absolutely vital for both understanding urgent warnings and appreciating those acts of care and protection. Now let's tackle lookup. This is a particularly fascinating one because it also has two distinct meanings and comes with different but really crucial grammatical rules. This is important.
Yes, this is a definite aha moment for many learners, so it's worth paying close attention. The first meaning of lookup is to find information, typically in some kind of reference source like a dictionary, Google, YouTube, and encyclopedia. You get the idea. For example, if you don't know the meaning of a new English word, you should always look it up in the dictionary. You quickly search online. Now, the crucial grammar point here is that look up, in this context, is the separable phrasal verb. This means you can say look up the word or look the word up. Both are perfectly correct and natural. However, and this is a non-negotiable rule in English grammar, if the object is a pronoun, like it, them, him, her, it must go between the verb and the particle, always. So you must say look it up, never ever look up it. That sounds immediately wrong to a native speaker. This rule is fundamental for sounding natural and grammatically correct. Now, the second meaning of look up is entirely different. It has nothing to do with finding information. It means to respect someone deeply, to admire them, often aspiring to be like them in some way. This person is typically a mentor, maybe a role model, or just someone you hold in very high regard, an inspiration. I really look up to my boss because of her incredible integrity and her supportive leadership style. This phrasal verb, look up to, is inseparable. The object always follows the phrasal verb without exception. You always say, look up to my boss, never look my boss up to. That doesn't make sense. And if the object is a pronoun, it still follows. I look up to her. Again, never I look her up to. So we have these two distinct meanings, one about finding information, the other about respect and admiration, and they come with entirely different grammatical rules regarding separability and pronoun placement. Understanding these distinctions helps you avoid awkward pauses, avoid grammatically incorrect sentences. It's not just about knowing the rule, it's about sounding seamless and fluent.
Wow, that's a lot packed into two little words, isn't it? Look up. That distinction about separable and inseparable verbs, especially with the pronoun placement, that's a golden nugget for sounding more natural and precise. Really is. It's amazing how a single phrasal verb can cover both the practical skill of finding information and the deeply personal aspect of identifying role models. Fascinating. Next up, look into.
Look into. This means to investigate something. To examine the facts of a situation, especially if it's a problem or maybe a complaint, in order to discover the truth or find a solution. It's particularly useful and very common in professional contexts. It implies diligence, thoroughness, and a proactive approach to problem solving. If a colleague mentions, say, a strange error they're seeing on the company website, you might offer, that's odd. Maybe I'll look into it right after this meeting and I'll report back to you after lunch with what I find. Or a customer service agent might say, thank you for bringing this to our attention. I'll look into your query immediately and get back to you with an update within 24 hours. It conveys a clear commitment to finding answers or solutions, taking responsibility.
That's a great way to professionally offer to investigate issues, troubleshoot problems, or delve deeper into inquiries in a work setting. Shows initiative. How about look over? How's that different?
Look over means to examine something, yes, but usually quickly, and without going into great detail. Think of it as a preliminary review, often somewhat superficial. You're getting the general gist, the overall picture, rather than conducting a forensic examination. Okay, I'll look over the report tonight and let you know if I want to add anything significant before the final deadline tomorrow. Or, Could you quickly look over my essay for any glaring typos before I submit it? Just a quick check. It implies a glance, maybe a skim read or a rapid assessment, rather than a thorough, in-depth investigation.
So it's about differentiating between a quick check and a detailed examination, useful for managing expectations in your own tasks and communications. And then there's look through, similar but slightly different again.
Yes, look through is similar to look over, in that it means to examine something. But often it carries the specific goal of finding needed information or a particular item within a larger set, searching within. It also had a literal meaning, of course, like looking through a window or a keyhole. But in our context here, it's more about perusing with a purpose, scanning for something specific. Oh, I can spend hours just looking through recipe books and food blogs online, getting inspiration for what to cook for dinner each night, that kind of browsing search. Or, I need to look through all these old files in the archive to find that specific contract document from last year. A more focused search. It's that relatable scenario of browsing for ideas or actively searching for specific details within a collection of things.
Right. Whether you're looking for dinner inspiration among countless recipes or specific information buried in a pile of documents, look through perfectly describes that kind of focused, purposeful examination. #TechChat ePlayfrights. Phrasal verbs of health and life stages. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about phrasal verbs related to health, illness, and various life stages. These come up all the time. We'll start with come down with. Sounds a bit ominous.
It does sound a little like you're falling ill.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it means. Come down with means to start showing signs of an illness, to begin to feel sick. It's almost always used for non-serious common ailments. Things like a cold, the flu, maybe a stomach bug or a slight fever. Nothing too drastic usually. It's essentially a polite and very common synonym for catch an illness. For example, oh dear, they both came down with a terrible cold right after their trip, probably caught it on the airplane. Or you might say, I feel a bit run down today, exhausted really. I think I might be coming down with something, so I'm probably going to head home early from work. Grammatically, just quickly, it's transitive and inseparable. This means an object is required, the illness or something, and it must follow the phrasal verb. You cannot separate coming down with. So you say coming down with a cold or coming down with something, but never coming a cold down with. That's wrong. Understanding this structure helps you avoid those awkward pauses or just grammatically incorrect sentences when you're feeling under the weather.
Good to know. So it's your go-to phrase for discussing the onset of those common ailments, those first symptoms when you start feeling unwell. Now, if you do come down with something, hopefully you can fight it off quickly. That sounds more positive.
Yes, fight off means to overcome an illness or infection. It signifies that your body's immune system is actively working against it, battling it, and successfully repelling it, getting better. The fighting here is entirely figurative, of course. It refers to that internal battle your body wages against a virus or bacteria. For example, she came down with a really nasty cold last week, but luckily she was able to fight it off quite quickly with lots of rest and vitamin C. Now, this is another incredibly important grammatical point, especially regarding pronoun placement, just like we saw with look up. Fight off is transitive and separable.
Oh, okay. Separable.
Yes. This means the object can go between the verb and the particle. She fought the cold off. Or after it, she fought off the cold. If the object is a noun. Both are fine. However, and this is absolutely crucial for sounding natural, it's a common learner mistake if the object is a pronoun like it, them, him, her. It always goes between the verb and the particle. No exceptions. So you must say, she fought it off. You can never say she fought off it. This specific rule for separable phrasal verbs with pronouns is really a hallmark of native-like fluency. Getting this right makes a big difference.
That's such a vital tip for sounding natural, remembering that pronoun placement rule. So important. It helps you accurately describe recovery from illness and master a fundamental grammar rule at the same time.
Excellent. Okay, on a more somber note now, a phrase used for discussing loss. Pass away. Yes, pass away. This is a very polite, respectful, and empathetic way of saying to die. It's a softer, more indirect, and generally gentler phrase compared to the directness of he died or she died, which can sometimes sound a little harsh or blunt, depending on the context and your relationship with the person. We're discussing the loss of a loved one, particularly in sensitive conversations. Using pass away conveys a greater degree of empathy and decorum. It's often preferred. For example, when I talk about my dad, I don't usually say he died. I prefer to say he passed away, as it just feels more respectful to his memory. This phrasal verb is intransitive and inseparable, meaning no object is needed or possible, and the verb and particle cannot be separated. You simply state that someone passed away. It allows for a sensitive and compassionate discussion of loss, which is important.
It's definitely an important phrase for discussing sensitive topics with appropriate language and empathy. It really highlights the power of words to soften difficult realities sometimes. Hashtag lectav, managing resources and living situations. Okay, let's turn our attention now to phrasal verbs that describe how we manage our resources, particularly money, and how we navigate various living situations. First, dip into.
Dip into. This means to spend some money that was specifically saved for another purpose. You're taking from a reserve. The key here is the context. It's about drawing from a reserve of funds, often with a slight implication of reluctance, maybe, or necessity, because you're using money that was set aside for something else entirely. The object of this phrasal verb is always a sum of money or a specific financial fund. Things like savings, a pension, a retirement fund, or maybe an emergency fund.
Yeah.
For example, unfortunately, they had to dip into their house savings quite heavily to pay for the unexpected renovation costs on their old property. Or, I really didn't want to, but I had to dip into my holiday fund to fix the car after it broke down last week. It speaks directly to financial planning, unexpected expenses, and sometimes, making tough choices with money.
So it's about using those stored resources, those savings, for an immediate, often unforeseen need. Got it.
Next, a very relatable one, I think. Get by. Get by. This means to manage to live or maybe do a task using only the money, resources, or knowledge that's available to you, and nothing more. Just enough. It signifies surviving adequately, just having enough to manage, often implying a degree of frugality maybe, or resourcefulness. Making do. Think of that famous Beatles lyric, right? With a little help from my friends, I get by.
Classic.
Exactly. An example could be, even though Tim has been without full-time work for about 6 months now, they've somehow been getting by on their small savings and a bit of support from family. Or, talking about skills, I don't speak French fluently, not at all, but I can usually get by with what I remember from high school when I travel there. It emphasizes sufficiency, having just enough to manage, to cope, or to make do. Not thriving maybe, but surviving okay.
It's a great way to describe those situations where you're making do with limited resources, whether it's money or language skills or even just time or energy. It speaks to resilience, doesn't it? And resourcefulness. Now, contrasting directly with get by, we have go without.
Yes. While get by implies having just enough to manage, go without explicitly means to live without things you genuinely need or would very much like to have. There's a lack involved. This often occurs due to circumstances beyond your control, highlighting a privation, a shortage. It focuses squarely on the absence of something essential or desired. For instance, after a severe storm or natural disaster, you might hear news reports saying, many people in the affected regions have been going without power or clean water for 5 days or more now. That's serious hardship. Or on a more personal level, maybe if you're on a strict diet, someone might ask, wow, did you really go without sugar for an entire month? That must have been incredibly tough. It highlights situations of hardship, sacrifice, or enforced privation, where something important, whether essential or just desired, is missing.
It certainly makes you reflect on those times when you've had to make do without something important or cherished. Whether it's a luxury or sometimes even a basic necessity. Hashtag G, the multifaceted come. Okay, now we're entering another really versatile and complex territory. The many meanings of come. This verb, wow. Combined with different particles, it covers an astonishing range of situations. From casual conversations to major professional developments, it's everywhere. Let's start with come up.
Come up is incredibly versatile, you're right. It has at least 4 distinct and common meanings that are really important to differentiate for clear communication. Let's break them down. First, it can mean to be mentioned or talked about in a conversation, often spontaneously, not planned. For example, if anything important comes up during the main meeting this afternoon, I'll be sure to tell you about it in detail later.
Whoa.
Or, oh, funny, your name came up in conversation just the other day and everyone was asking how you're doing.
Okay, so tag mentioned. What's next?
Second, it can mean to approach or go towards someone or something, especially if they are on a higher physical level or maybe in a more prominent position. Moving upwards. Imagine a host at an awards ceremony inviting someone, please come up on stage now and collect your well-deserved award. Or inviting someone to your home, could you come up to my apartment on the 3rd floor for a coffee when you arrive?
Approach or ascend. Got it. Third.
Third, if a job, an opportunity, or maybe even an event comes up, it means it becomes available or arises unexpectedly. It appears. Listen, this new and exciting opportunity has just come up and we absolutely need to consider taking it before it's gone. Or, great news, A new position came up in the marketing department, and I think I'm going to apply for it.
Opportunity arises. And the fourth meaning.
And fourth, if a problem or an issue comes up, it means it happens suddenly and needs to be dealt with. Often immediately or unexpectedly. Requires attention. Oh dear, something's just come up at home involving the kids, so I unfortunately need to cancel my appointment for this afternoon. So sorry. Sincerely. Or a slight technical issue came up during the online presentation, causing a brief delay, but we fixed it.
It's truly amazing how one single phrasal verb, come up, can describe such a wide range of situations, from professional developments and spontaneous mentions in conversation to social interactions involving movement and those unexpected problems. Wow. Okay, next, come in.
Come in also has several widely used meanings. Very common. Most commonly and literally, it means to enter a building or a room, a very straightforward sense of movement into a space. For example, the television was blaring so loudly that he didn't even notice me come in through the front door.
Okay, enter. What else?
It can also mean to arrive, often referring to scheduled transport like trains or buses, or maybe incoming information like news. The train from London comes in at 3 o'clock sharp, so we need to be at the station by 2:45 at the latest. Or, in the context of breaking news, news is just coming in now that they found more survivors after the earthquake, which is incredible news.
Arrivals and news. Interesting. Any others?
Yes, a slightly less common but still very useful meaning is when talking about clothing or fashion items being available in certain variations, like colors or sizes or styles. These new stylish shirts come in 3 colors: classic blue, forest green, and bright red. Or, the new model of electric car comes in both a standard range and a long-range version.
So understanding context is absolutely key here, isn't it? Whether you're talking about someone physically entering a room, a train arriving on schedule, urgent news updates coming through, or even describing product variations in a shop, context tells all. How about come out?
Come out is another really multifaceted verb. Its meanings span from revelations and secrets to natural phenomena and social events. First, it means information that was previously unknown becomes known or is revealed. Often after a period of secrecy or maybe investigation, the truth comes to light. After 10 long years of speculation and rumors, the real truth about the political scandal finally came out in the new investigative documentary.
Truth revealed. Okay.
Second, it describes natural phenomena, like the sun, the moon, or the stars appearing in the sky, becoming visible after being obscured by clouds or daylight. After a whole week of miserable heavy rain, it's just wonderful to see the sun finally come out from behind the clouds.
Natural appearance. Third.
Third, it refers to a new album, a book, a movie, or some other product being released or published, made available to the public. The highly anticipated new album from my favorite band will come out sometime in June. I can't wait. Or, my sister's delightful new children's book comes out in December, just in time for Christmas gifts.
Released or published. And the fourth meaning, social.
Yes. Fourth, in a social context, it means to go somewhere with someone for a social event. To socialize outside your home. Often used as an invitation. Hey, do you want to come out with us for dinner and maybe some drinks on Friday night? We're thinking of going to that new Italian place downtown.
Wow. From dramatic revelations and everyday weather patterns to exciting media releases and casual social plans, come out covers a huge spectrum of situations. Incredible. Now, come on is one of those expressions you hear all the time. Constantly. And its meaning seems to change dramatically based entirely on your tone of voice and the specific context. This one feels tricky.
Absolutely. Come on is incredibly versatile and often highly idiomatic. It has at least 5 distinct common uses. Let's unpack them. First, it can be an exclamation to rush someone, often said with a sense of urgency or maybe impatience. Come on, we're going to be seriously late for the movie if we don't leave right now.
Hurry up. Got it.
Second, it can be used to encourage or support someone, to urge them forward positively, like a cheerleader. Come on, you can do it. Just a little bit more effort, and you'll definitely reach the finish line. Keep going.
Encouragement.
Okay. Third, when said with a skeptical or disbelieving tone, it expresses doubt in what someone has just said, implying you don't believe them at all. Oh, come on, that's just not true. You're clearly making that story up.
Disbelief.
Right. Fourth, it can mean a light, an appliance, or some kind of system starts working or activates. Switches on. That's clever. The light in the bathroom just came on automatically when I walked in. Or the opposite. Help! The hot water isn't coming on. I think there might be a problem with the boiler.
Starts working. And the last one, illness.
Yes, finally. It can refer to a sickness or maybe just an unpleasant feeling that is just starting to develop or manifest itself. Usually something mild, like a common cold or a headache. Oh dear, I think I've got a cold coming on and my throat feels a bit scratchy, and I'm sneezing.
That's an incredible amount of meaning packed into just 2 short words. Come on,
Hmm.
mastering come on, and its different tones really helps you navigate those everyday interactions. From urgings and encouragement to expressing skepticism and even describing your health or a technical issue with an appliance. Very useful. Next, come down.
Come down. This generally functions as a synonym for reduce or fall, fundamentally signifying movement in a downward direction, or maybe a decrease in quantity or intensity. For example, talking about a storm, many of the weaker trees came down during the severe storm last night, completely blocking some of the roads. Physical falling. It's also commonly used to describe prices decreasing. We're all hoping that the price of petrol will finally come down next month.
Decrease or fall? Any other meanings?
Well, it's also used in a very literal sense when you're talking to someone who is physically higher than you are, instructing them to descend or join you at a lower level. Hey, could you please come down here now? We need to discuss something important face to face.
Yeah.
It's quite literal in its directional or reductive meanings generally.
Simple, direct, and useful for describing everything from falling prices and physical movement to the unfortunate aftermath of events like storms. But what about come down on? Adding just that one little word on changes its meaning entirely, doesn't it?
Indeed it does. To come down on someone is a distinctly negative and often quite harsh phrase. It's never good. It means to punish someone severely, or to criticize them very strongly, to reprimand them, often officially, for not performing as expected, or perhaps for making a significant mistake. It implies harsh criticism and sometimes even disciplinary action, a serious telling off. For example, my boss came down on me really hard yesterday because I didn't finish that crucial report in time, even though I explained I had a family emergency. Feels unfair sometimes. Or the teacher came down hard on the students who were caught cheating on the exam. It conveys a strong sense of negative consequence, disapproval, and often a feeling of being unfairly targeted or scolded quite harshly.
Oof. So recognizing come down on helps you understand and describe harsh criticism or disciplinary actions in both professional and personal contexts. Good to know what it means when you hear it. What about come over? That sounds friendlier.
Much friendlier. Come over is most commonly used to describe movement from one place to another, often informally. And it very frequently functions as an invitation, usually to someone's home or current location. It implies a casual visit. For example, hey, come over here for a moment. I want to show you something really interesting on my screen. Directing movement. Or the classic invitation, why don't you come over to my house for dinner tonight? We're having a barbecue in the garden. Back away. It's a very common, friendly, and informal phrase used for everyday social invitations and giving directions for movement towards oneself.
A simple, friendly invitation that you'll hear and probably use all the time. Makes sense. And finally, for our extensive come verbs section, come back.
Come back is quite straightforward, thankfully. It simply means that someone or something returns to a place, maybe returns to an original state, or reappears after an absence. It describes a return, a recurrence, or maybe a reversal of a departure. Okay, I'll come back in about half an hour to pick you up. Just wait here for me. Simple return. Or, talking about illness again, erg. I thought I got rid of my cold completely last week, but I think it's coming back again with a vengeance. Recurrence. It can also refer to things like fashions coming back into style, or maybe a memory suddenly coming back to you after being forgotten.
So describing everything from simple personal returns to the unwelcome recurrence of an illness, or even a forgotten memory or a fashion trend. Very versatile. Hashtag H skills and decisions. All right, let's wrap up this extensive section we've covered a lot with just a couple more phrasal verbs. These are about improving skills and making decisions. First, brush up on. I like the sound of this one.
Yes, brush up on is a highly useful and nicely idiomatic phrasal verb. It means to update, improve, or refresh existing skills or knowledge. Often because they have become a bit rusty, maybe you're a bit out of practice, or perhaps because you need them for a new context or situation. It's particularly valuable in professional contexts, I think, because it offers a softer, more diplomatic way to admit a skill deficiency, while simultaneously signaling a proactive willingness to improve, which looks good. So instead of saying something potentially negative like, I'm bad at editing, you can frame it positively. I really need to brush up on my editing skills before the new project starts. See? It highlights your intention to develop. For example, I'm currently brushing up on my Italian because I've got an important business trip to Rome next month, and I really want to be able to communicate effectively with our clients there. Or, great news, I got the new job at the publishing company. But I definitely need to brush up on my advanced Excel skills before I start next week. It frames skill development positively, shows initiative.
That's a fantastic tip. Framing skill development in a positive, proactive way, especially when you're preparing for new opportunities or maybe just admitting a skill gap you need to address. It shows initiative and a growth mindset, doesn't it? Very useful phrase. And lastly, for this section, turn down.
Turn down. This is another very common and highly idiomatic phrasal verb. It simply means to say no to something. To refuse an offer, a request, or maybe an invitation. It implies a conscious decision to decline. Often, hopefully, for a good and justifiable reason. It's generally considered a polite but firm way to refuse something. For example, they offered me a fantastic opportunity to attend the international conference in Hawaii. Amazing. But I unfortunately had to turn them down because it clashes directly with my son's birthday party and family comes first for me. Or on the receiving end, the company turned down his job application because, unfortunately, he lacked the necessary years of experience they required.
Yeah.
It's about setting boundaries, making choices, and articulating your refusal clearly when you're faced with invitations, opportunities, or requests you can't or don't want to accept.
Understanding turn down helps you articulate your choices and set boundaries clearly, without necessarily sounding rude or indecisive. It's a crucial verb for navigating all those personal and professional commitments we juggle. Okay, wow. We've just navigated a huge landscape of phrasal verbs, haven't we? Seeing how all those different particles combine with base verbs to create entirely new meanings. It's been a fascinating journey. It really highlights the sheer versatility and maybe the complexity of English. But what if I told you there's a deeper secret? A hidden pattern within these particles themselves. This is where the real magic, I think, the major aha moment begins, as we unlock the consistent influence of just one little word. Up.
This is truly where you start seeing the underlying logic, the patterns that can make phrasal verbs feel much less intimidating, much less random. When we talk about particles, just to be clear, we mean those small words like up, in, on, off, down, out, that combine with a verb to create a completely new meaning.
Tiny words, mighty power.
Exactly. Tiny words with mighty power. By focusing on a single, extremely common particle like up, we can unlock a deeper, more intuitive understanding of many phrasal verbs. We'll categorize them into thematic groups now, which should make them much easier to grasp, to remember, and maybe even to predict the meaning of new ones you encounter. You'll start to see how up acts as a kind of signal, consistently hinting at the verb's overall direction, maybe its quality, or even its completion. It's really cool when you see it.
Okay, let's start with the most fundamental, the most literal idea. Up often signifies moving something or someone from a lower physical position to a higher one, straight up. This is the most basic, concrete meaning, and it serves as a foundational understanding for its more abstract uses later on.
Precisely. Think of it in its most direct, concrete sense first. Many phrasal verbs use up in this very straightforward way, just describing physical elevation, going higher.
Like pick up itself. Seems obvious, but it fits perfectly.
Yes, pick up is a perfect starting point. It means to lift or move something or someone from a lower surface or position. You pick up your mug from the table. You pick up your child from the floor when they fall. You pick up a dropped pen. It's a simple, clear, and universally understood physical upward movement. It can also mean to collect someone or something from a specific place, like I'll pick you up from the airport when you arrive. Still involves collecting and moving.
And what about get up? Also very common.
Get up also clearly signifies movement from a lower, often resting position to a higher upright one. This is typically used after sleeping. What time do you usually get up in the morning? Or after sitting down? Okay, I need to get up and stretch my legs.
Yeah.
Or she was sitting comfortably on the floor and I offered her my hand to help her get up. It's the act of rising from a prone or seated state to an upright, higher position.
Makes sense. And fill up. How does that fit the movement idea?
Fill up means to put something inside until it's completely full, reaching the top. Here, the up signifies the completion of an upward process of increasing volume, moving from an empty or low state of content to a full or high state. You fill up your glass with water right to the brim. You fill up your car's fuel tank at the petrol station. Or you fill up a form with all the required information. In all these examples, you see that core idea of moving from a state of less to a state of more, reaching a maximum capacity, mirroring that low to high trajectory, but with volume or content, hashtag be up, as increase or improvement.
Okay, so up isn't just about physical movement from low to high, that's clear. It can also powerfully indicate making something greater, better, or bigger. Kind of analogous to moving upwards in quality or quantity or status, right? This is where the particle starts to reveal its more abstract power, I guess.
Exactly. This is where the meaning becomes a bit more abstract, yes.
Yeah.
But it's still intrinsically connected to that core idea of more, better, or larger. It's still an upward trajectory, just in an abstract sense, not necessarily physical height.
Like climb up or go up, those seem pretty direct.
They are. They directly illustrate this concept. Climb up or go up means to increase in height or reach a higher level. This can be physical, like climbing a set of stairs. I climbed up the stairs quickly to get to the balcony to get a better view of the parade. Or, more abstractly, like prices going up. Unfortunately, the cost of living continues to go up every single year. The up clearly signals an increase, either tangible like height or conceptual like value or number. You can also go up in rank or status at work, for example, moving higher in the hierarchy.
Right. Now, we talked about backup earlier. In the context of supporting someone in an argument, how does it fit here in this increase or improvement category?
It fits perfectly when you focus on the increase aspect. In this context, back up means to provide extra support, or to increase the existing support for something or someone, making it stronger. The up here reinforces that idea of strengthening, adding to, or reinforcing something that's already there. For example, she backed up her claims with solid photographic evidence, meaning she increased the credibility and strength of her stories significantly, made them more convincing. Or, thank goodness they back you up during that heated argument, lending their vocal support to your point of view. That increases your position's strength, doesn't it? It's about making something stronger, more substantial, or more defensible, an improvement in its robustness.
Okay, so it's about making something stronger or more substantial, an upward improvement in its robustness or credibility. Got it. And grow up.
Grow up is a perfect, very natural example of up, indicating an increase in size, development, or maturity. It's a natural biological process of development and increase over time. Oh, our kids just grow up far too quickly. Feels like they were only babies yesterday. It speaks to both physical growth and that ongoing maturation process. And of course, you also tell someone to grow up when they're acting childishly, implying they need to increase their level of maturity, move up in maturity.
Very true. It's an inevitable increase in life, hopefully. What about when our mood needs an up? Needs improving?
That's cheer up. Cheer up means to improve one's mood or spirits, to move from a sad, low, or despondent mood to a happier, more positive one. Oh, come on, cheer up. The weather's going to be much better tomorrow, and we can definitely go for that walks in. The up signals an elevation in emotional state, a psychological uplift. You're encouraging someone to move from a lower emotional state to a higher, happier one.
And when we want to make our appearance better, or maybe more formal for an event?
That's where dress up comes in. Dress up means to increase the quality or formality of one's clothes, making oneself look better, nicer, or more appropriate for a special occasion. We all dressed up smartly for the annual charity gala last weekend. Everyone looked so elegant. Or even just for a casual dinner out with friends, sometimes it's nice to dress up a little bit, isn't it? It's an improvement or elevation in appearance or formality. Moving up from casual to smart. Hashtag C, up.
As creation or generation.
Okay, another fascinating way up works. When it suggests bringing something into existence, often from scratch, or maybe just from an idea at your head. It's about creation, generation, or devising something new, making something appear.
Yes, this category truly highlights the generative aspect of up. It's about bringing something from nothing, almost, or from a conceptual state into reality, materializing an idea or an object.
Like cook up. That sounds creative. Cook up is a great dual example, actually. Literally, of course, it means to prepare a meal. What shall we cook up for dinner tonight? Standard cooking. But it can also mean to devise, invent, or get an idea or plan ready. Often something exciting or surprising, or maybe even a little mischievous. I'm currently cooking up a secret plan for a surprise birthday party for him next month. Don't tell anyone. Or the students cooked up an elaborate scheme involving a fake illness to try and get out of class early. It connects the physical act of preparing food with the mental act of devising or fabricating something new, creating something.
And whip up is similar to cook up, but maybe with an added element of speed or ease.
Exactly right. Whip up means to prepare or cook something very quickly, often with little fuss or prior planning involved. Spontaneously, I'm starving. I'm just going to whip up a quick sandwich during my short lunch break because I don't have much time. Or, wow, she whipped up an amazing, complex-looking presentation in just an hour right before the big meeting. It implies spontaneity and efficiency in creation. A rapid generation of something, whether food or an idea.
Okay. And if you're really imaginative, really creative, you might dream up something entirely new.
Yes, dream up means to think of a new, often highly imaginative, original, or perhaps even fantastical idea, or just to imagine something new. It's about being highly creative with your thoughts, using your imagination. During my morning walk in the park, I dreamt up an entire new storyline for the novel I'm writing. Or, looking at something amazing, who on earth could have dreamt up such a complex and beautiful piece of architecture? It's stunning. It emphasizes imagination, innovation, and the unique generation of concepts seemingly from one's mind, like a dream.
And when you're organizing something, getting it ready, you set up a system or an event.
Exactly. Set up means to organize or arrange something, such as an event, a system, maybe some equipment, or a meeting. Getting things ready. It implies putting things into place so they're ready for use or operation. Establishing something. Okay, I need to set up my home studio properly every time I need to film a new lesson. Arranging the lights, the microphone, the camera. It takes time. Or, following the recent issues, they decided to set up a new steering committee to address the ongoing communication problems. The up here signifies the establishment or arrangement of something in preparation, bringing it into an organized, functional state from a state of perhaps disorganization or non-existence, building it up.
Right. Now, we mentioned makeup earlier in a different context, reconciliation, but it also fits here under creation, doesn't it? Though often with a hint of fabrication.
Yes, makeup is a fascinating example of just how versatile up is and how absolutely crucial context is for understanding. In this creation sense, makeup can mean to invent or create a lie, a fake story, an excuse, or maybe even a fictional game. This is completely distinct from the noun makeup, cosmetics, and the reconcile, meaning we'll discuss again shortly. Totally different. For example, as a child, she would often make up elaborate stories about her adventures to make her life seem more interesting to her school friends. Inventing tales. Or, oh no, I'm late again. I had to quickly make up an excuse about traffic to avoid getting in trouble with my boss. Fabricating a reason. It focuses on the imaginative, though sometimes deceptive, aspect of creation, bringing something into existence that isn't actually true. This is also why understanding context is so critical with phrasal verbs. The exact same combination of words, makeup, can have vastly different meanings depending entirely on the situation.
Absolutely. Context is king. And finally, a great one for innovators, problem solvers, creative thinkers everywhere. Come up with.
Yes, come up with. This means to suggest, think of, or produce a new idea, a solution, a plan, or an answer, often after some thought or deliberation, generating something new. The up here highlights the generation or origination of a new concept, often a solution to a problem or an innovative thought, bringing it forth. For example, people like Elon Musk seem to constantly come up with grand, ambitious plans to save humanity, like electric cars, reusable rockets, and even flying to Mars, generating big ideas. Or in a team meeting, okay, team, we really need to come up with a completely new marketing strategy to tackle this unexpected challenge before the next quarter begins. Originating a plan. It's all about originating new ideas and presenting them, bringing them up for consideration. Hashtag D up as fixing or getting better.
Next category. Up can also powerfully imply repairing, restoring, or improving a state, moving from a damaged, broken, or negative condition towards a better one. It's about fixing, healing, or generally getting better. Restoration.
Exactly. This category truly shows up as bringing something back to a functional, healthy, or positive state, reversing a decline or damage, moving back up to a good state.
And makeup appears here again, but with a completely different, positive meaning. Different from inventing stories, different from cosmetics. This is the reconciliation one.
Precisely. This is why makeup can be so tricky but also so rewarding to finally master. You need to track its different uses. If two people make up after an argument or disagreement, they're repairing a damaged relationship, restoring it to a friendly or harmonious state, fixing the break. Sarah and John had another really heated argument last night. They shout a lot, but they always manage to make up quite quickly. Usually by the end of the day, their bond is actually very strong. Here, up clearly signifies the healing of a relationship, restoring it to a positive, functional state after a conflict. It's absolutely vital not to confuse this with makeup, meaning to invent a story, or the noun makeup referring to cosmetics. Context, again, is your best friend here. It tells you everything.
So from inventing a story to reconciling a relationship, the context is everything. And the particle up clearly signals an improvement or restoration in this case. Moving the relationship back up. What about physical healing? Getting better from an injury.
That's heal up. Heal up is when an injury, like a wound, a cut, or even a bone fracture, gets better, recovers, fixes itself naturally over time. Wow, his broken leg healed up remarkably quickly after several weeks of intensive physiotherapy.
Hmm.
Or, ouch, that's a nasty cut on your finger. I hope it heals up soon without getting infected. The up here indicates the completion of a restorative physical process, a return to physical health, the body fixing itself up.
And for recovering from, say, too much alcohol, getting back to normal.
That would be sober up. Sober up means to become less drunk or intoxicated, to return to a state of sobriety and mental clarity after consuming alcohol or drugs. A strong coffee and a hearty breakfast will definitely help you to sober up faster after a long, crazy night out celebrating. Or, more seriously, he absolutely needs to sober up completely before he even thinks about driving home. It's not safe otherwise. The up implies a return to a normal, more aware and unimpaired state from an intoxicated lower state, moving up to clarity.
And an informal way to fix something quickly, like mending clothes?
Patch up is a lovely informal phrasal verb for that. It means to fix or make something whole, functional, or seemingly okay again, especially in a temporary or quick fashion. A quick fix. It's often used for repairing a hole in clothing, or maybe treating a minor injury quickly. Oh no, there's a hole in my favorite jumper. I'm going to quickly patch it up with a needle and thread so that I can wear it again for the winter. Or, after the minor bike accident, the doctors managed to patch up his scrapes and bruises quite quickly. Here, up contributes to the idea of a complete, even if sometimes informal or temporary, repair, bringing something back up to a usable state. #WE, up as completion.
Okay, our final category for understanding the power of up. This is completion. Here, up signifies finishing something entirely, bringing a task, an action, or process to its thorough conclusion, all the way to the end.
Yes, this is up signaling finality, ensuring nothing is left undone, or that a process has reached its full extent, its final stage. It often intensifies the sense of completion. Finishing up.
Like finish up. Seems straightforward.
Yes, finish up means to completely finish something, to bring a task or activity to its absolute conclusion. No more left to do. Please make sure you finish up the final design edits by Friday afternoon at the latest, as we have the crucial client presentation first thing on Monday morning.
Us.
Or, I just need to finish up writing this important email, and then I'll be right with you. Almost done. The up intensifies the sense of completion, ensuring the task is brought to a thorough and definitive conclusion, leaving no loose ends. All finished.
And wrap up, similar meaning.
Yes, wrap up is very similar to finish up, and it's commonly used to mean to finish something, often a discussion, a meeting, a project, or a task. You can get to a neat close. It's a very common and often quite professional way to indicate bringing something to a close, signaling the end. Okay, everyone, it's almost midday, so it's probably time to start wrapping up this lesson as we're running out of time. Or, in a project meeting, right team, let's aim to wrap up this entire project successfully by the end of the week. Up. It signals the conclusion of an activity, often implies summarizing or tidying up too.
And finally, a directive often heard at the dinner table, especially directed at children maybe. Drink up or eat up?
Yes. These are direct and often quite urgent commands to consume all of your food or drink, leaving nothing behind. They signify complete consumption, ensuring nothing is left on the plate or in the glass. Come on, drink up. We're going to be late for the movie if you don't finish your juice right now. Urgency. Or the classic parental plea, now eat up all your vegetables. They're good for you. Don't leave any up. In these contexts, leaves absolutely no room for anything remaining. It demands full completion of the consumption. All gone. #tag outro.
And there you have it. Phew. We've just taken a really comprehensive deep dive, haven't we? A real journey through 50 of the most common and versatile English phrasal verbs out there. We've explored their often multiple, sometimes confusing, nuanced meanings, the specific context where they truly shine, and even how a single, powerful little particle like up can consistently unlock so much meaning across so many different verbs. It's a pattern. Hopefully, you're now seeing not just what these verbs mean, but how understanding these patterns, these distinctions, how that can truly transform your English communication. In professional settings, social chats, personal life, everywhere, you've gained, I hope, an essential toolkit for more natural and more impactful expression.
Precisely. Our goal here today was really to show you that genuine confidence in English. It isn't just about knowing individual words in isolation. That's not enough. It comes from recognizing these deeper patterns, understanding the subtle influence of those little particles, and appreciating the context in which these powerful word combinations are actually used by native speakers every day. This deep dive has hopefully offered you a robust framework for doing just that with phrasal verbs, helping you move beyond just basic understanding to truly sounding more natural, more accurate, and ultimately, more fluent in your conversations. You're now equipped to not just use English, but hopefully to start mastering its intricate dance a little more.
So, as you go about your day, today, tomorrow, this week, I challenge you. Become a phrasal verb detective. Be aware. Choose just one category we talked about today, maybe the come verbs, with all their incredibly varied uses. Or perhaps the fascinating and consistent influence of the up verbs we just finished with, and actively listen for them in movies you watch, songs you hear, podcasts like this one, or just in your next everyday conversation. Notice how they're used. What's the context? What's the subtle meaning they convey in that moment? And then, here's the kicker. Which phrasal verb will you confidently try to use, maybe today, to truly get your point across, or maybe back someone up, or perhaps even cheer someone up in your next conversation? Start actively integrating them one by one, and watch your fluency soar. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.